Hey guys, welcome back to Unqualified Critics. There's been some interesting news this week in the home arcade space, namely from iArcade, and we have another firmware update also from At Games for the Legends Ultimate, and we'll be sure and cover that too. That is a product that continues to evolve with software updates. I know some of you guys are waiting on replacement parts or repairs or retail availability. So hopefully the world will get back to normal soon and people can get access to their warehouse and start shipping that stuff out. But in the meantime, their team has been busy releasing updates, and we'll cover that at the end of the video. So I also want to talk about iArcade. This is on Kickstarter. It's currently closing in on $400,000 pledged. This is with a product with relatively small marketing budget, I imagine. This isn't from a big name company. I mean, this really is an arcade hardware startup, and I view this number as pretty amazing. But more important than that is what's been announced recently, and that is online play, specifically local and network multiplayer. So I've talked a lot before about racing cabinets, what I want to see from a dedicated home racing cabinet. And pretty close to the top of that list that most people want on features for racing cabinet is a LAN linkage between cabs, because at the back of the day in the arcades, specifically in the 90s, that was a big deal. You could sit down in a racing cabinet and play against seven other people on, like, say, Daytona USA, or maybe even just two or one other person. It would depend on the configuration that arcade had. But there was nothing like it. It was very, very cool. And there are a lot of multiplayer arcade games beyond racing. That's just the iconic example in my mind. But to date, this hasn't been something people have really offered us until Arcade One Up broke the mold with NBA Jam and offered a free online multiplayer. Now, I know some of you have had varied experiences with it. My experience has been mostly positive, but I'm not that great at the game, so I don't play online a whole lot. I also don't play the cabinet as much as I probably should. I'll do a follow-up video on NBA Jam, though. I think there's some interesting stuff to talk about there. Point is, it's cool to have online multiplayer, and that was the first cabinet that really gave it to us in an officially supported manner. With iArcade jumping into this, too, it's starting to become table stakes. I think in 2021, you're going to see just the norm be a connected online experience. The fact that they're directly supporting local multiplayer, though, is awesome, because I think that there are people that will want to buy multiple of these cabinets, have them set out next to each other, especially if we get that custom artwork that P-Dubs has mocked up. I don't have any indication from iArcade that they're going to do that. I'm just kind of putting it out there. That would be a reason for people to have more than one cabinet. So we're getting a multiplayer. There's a game called Bomb Squad. Now, I've not heard of this. I'm not big on phone gaming. Don't do much of it at all outside of the occasional PUBG online match. This apparently is a big mobile game. And I mean, really big, 10 million downloads. So that's pretty major. But this is something I wanted to hone in on with you. The game will be a special version, custom made for the arcade experience, meaning no ads and no pay to play. Hallelujah, that is very good news. The worst way to bring, I think, a modern game to an arcade system is to just dump it into the arcade with no changes. The best way to do it is to customize the game and do it the right way and make sure it's set up properly for the controls and just for that form factor of standing up, playing with the joysticks. No microtransaction, pay to play type stuff, that's good news. In the world of people that are okay with spending money on that, phone gamers are top of the list. That's where most of these microtransactions are happening. Console gamers are a notch below, right? NBA 2K brings in major money. A lot of that is through console. PC gaming is at the bottom. But if there was a bottom below that, it would be arcade gamers. None of us want to pay nickel and dime for little add-ons like that. So this is definitely an example of a publisher reading the market. And I don't know if the publisher gets credit for this or iArcade. Maybe iArcade came in and strong-armed them and said, hey, we got to do this right and make this available. Now, we are closing in on $400,000 pledged. So if it gets to $500,000, Bomb Squad will come for free for everyone who gets these early access cabinets. So good to note, but either way, I think this is good news. So again, as someone who's not familiar with Bomb Squad, it looks like a pretty cool game from the screenshots. I'm sure it's addictive. All those major phone games are. And it can't be addictive unless it's a well-designed game. So I have no doubt it is a well-designed game. But again, the big news here is we're getting online play. Okay, NBA Jam did it first. So that's good. Eventually we're going to expect everyone to do that. We're going to get local network play, which no one has done yet. That's awesome. More of that, please. And we're going to get a game tailored to come from the mobile platform to an arcade, which is good news. Now, I've talked about this before. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you know I've been harping on this. We have a ton of games that were made for mobile chipsets, not dissimilar from the chipset we're getting in the iArcade, that I think ought to be refactored for arcade gaming. In other words, let's not just play games from the 70s, 80s, 90s. Let's play some of this modern stuff, but it has to be made for the arcade. And iArcade, to their credit, they're the first one. I feel like I'm saying the word arcade like a million times. Sorry for that. But these guys are the first to do it, and it's a startup. So I might sound like I'm a little too crazy here, but honestly, it's just all very impressive. All right, so moving on. There is also some other news. If you add $50 for current backers, or even someone, if you're thinking about backing, you can upgrade from a 64 gigabyte storage to 128 gigs for $50. That's not bad. I know someone out there, you'll look at the raw cost of storage and say, it's too much money. Normally when companies do this storage tier, it's a good way to separate your product line. It's just a way that anybody understands, from soccer mom on down, everybody gets a bigger number, right? And normally when you double the storage, you just go up $100 in price. That's just been the norm. iPhone, I think, kind of started it, but that's just how products have been done. $50 is not a bad price for that, in my opinion. So at this point, you can spend $350 as of right now, and there are only 4 left. But if you're interested in this, you get the bar top for $350. You can spend $399, and there are only 18 left, but only 2 have been taken. So this is the price tier that you can get into right now. Early bird bar top, 128 gigabyte model. You get all the same elements as the other product. You're just getting a little more storage. And remember, this arcade is designed for you to expand it by downloading more games. Now, there's been some talk about, for example, on the AtGames Legends Ultimate, where are we going to store the games? There's not a ton of onboard storage. In fact, there's very little. So it's mostly going to be through USB storage. I don't have any problem with that. They've got a nice integrated USB port on the Legends Ultimate. But best case scenario, give us the onboard storage. iArcade is doing that. And so for a $50 upgrade, you can get the 128 gigabyte model. The announcement is you can go in and manage your pledge. So you log into Kickstarter, go to manage my pledge, and there's going to be an upgrade option. Even if you got the cheaper model before, you can pay $50 and get the bigger unit, the absolute unit. And I think that's smart. This is basically their distribution channel right now, is Kickstarter. And man, they're managing this Kickstarter nicely. These kind of upgrades, these kind of spaced out announcements. I think some of the people here have done this before, because this is well done. Let me know what you guys think about the online play. Is that important to you? Do any of you play Bomb Squad? Clearly it's a big game. I feel like I'm out of the loop. I don't do a lot of mobile gaming. All right, so let's switch gears and talk about the Legends Ultimate. I've not covered this for a number of weeks, but there continue to be incremental improvements to the firmware. The biggest thing, in my opinion, the last month to happen with the Legends Ultimate is this add-on X feature. And so many of you know you can add your own ROMs to the Legends Ultimate. There's a software tool out there. I don't think it's officially sanctioned by games, but it works perfectly. And if you've been following our channel, you're probably already hip to this. But anyway, you download that widget, you add the ROM, you add the emulator, packages all up, and then you load it in USB drive and you can run it. And these are unofficial ROMs. Well, what AtGames is doing now is supporting official software development for their product as a platform. And again, been hammering this drum for a while. I think that's the natural evolution of a product like this. And this kind of arcade, it's a big piece of hardware. It takes up a lot of room in your home. It's a good idea, I think, to have it do multiple duties and get some apps on here to just expand the functionality of what we can get from it. One idea I've had, and I'm not the first person to ever think of this, I'm sure, but as a boombox mode so that we can actually play arcade, retro, 80s, 90s, whatever music on those stereo speakers. But I'm sure we're going to see a lot of things down the road. As of now, the Pixelcade is officially supported. So my understanding is when you switch the games you're playing on the Legends Ultimate, the marquee from Pixelcade, which is a third-party product, it's I think $300 for the Legends Ultimate model, it will update and it will read like the marquee of that game you're playing. That is a brilliant idea. And there's one thing lacking from a multi-cade format, and that is authenticity. Anything you can do to make it more authentic to the game you're playing at the moment is a big win. The Legends Ultimate has those nice bezels that run as your background when you're playing a game in, say, 4x3 mode. That's helpful. But having a dynamic marquee is much more helpful. Not a cheap product at $300, but it is extremely bright LEDs. Glenn from Glenn's Retro Show did a very nice video on it. I'll show that in the background and give you a link below if you're interested in checking that out. As for these current updates, well, voice chat was released a week or two ago, and now there's three-way voice chat. A couple new games have been added to leaderboards, and by the way, I have not tested three-way voice chat. Believe it or not, I don't have a Bluetooth headset. I should probably change that. Coin Ops X. This is basically a front end for game selection, and it's part of the bring your own game feature. So you can run Coin Ops from the Legends Ultimate. And I guess there was a problem when you only had one game queued up. That has been resolved. You now can support larger thumb drives. I think this is because we're about to start being able to buy games on the Legends Ultimate through the ArcadeNet service. So it's been long teased that you'd be able to buy your own games and officially add them to expand your Legends Ultimate. Well, we now know that those games are going to be added to a USB drive. So the fact that they just ramped up the space supported in a big way tells me they're getting ready to launch that. I do not have official info on that, by the way. That's simply just speculation, but that's the direction I think we're headed in. I don't think the Legends Ultimate, to tie this in with the earlier topic, I don't think they're going to want iArcade to beat them to the punch by launching this product where you can add all these games. I think they're going to want to get there first. And for what it's worth, I think Arcade 1UP will be the last player to allow for game expansion or DLC. All right, that's what I have for you today. I hope you guys are enjoying your gaming. I hope everybody is staying safe. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that like button, leave me a comment, and if you've not already, please subscribe and stay tuned to the channel. I'll talk to you guys soon.